Fall is such a sneaky season in the garden. One day, the sun feels warm on your back, and the next morning, there's frost on the grass. This change tricks many gardeners. The soil looks fine, the plants look strong, but hidden mistakes now can undo months of work. I've seen gardens wiped out overnight because of one wrong choice in fall. Maybe you've worked all summer, caring for your vegetables and flowers. You've watered, weeded, and watched them grow. Then, just when the season shifts, something goes wrong. The soil dries out, the roots rot, the compost burns the plants. A small error in fall often costs you your spring harvest. That's why today we're going to talk about 5 common fall mistakes. These are errors even experienced gardeners make. The good news is, once you know how to avoid them, your garden can thrive year after year. Fall will become a season of strength, not struggle. Stay with me. By the end, you'll see fall gardening in a whole new light. Welcome back to Rootly Gardening, friend. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you love growing food or flowers or even just keeping your yard alive, you're in the right place. This video is for beginners and for anyone who's made a few mistakes in the garden before. And let's be honest, we all have. Fall gardening feels simple, but it has hidden traps. When the days get cooler, many people relax. They stop watering, they forget about soil, they let weeds go to seed, they leave plants unprotected. It feels like the garden is going to sleep, but in truth, the garden is preparing for next year. What you do in fall sets the stage for spring. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 big mistakes. For each one, I'll explain why it matters, what happens if you ignore it, and what to do instead. Here's how it will work. We'll cover each mistake in detail. I'll pause now and then with a quick recap so you don't feel lost. I'll also ask you a few questions along the way. I'd love for you to leave a comment and share your own gardening experiences. That way we can all learn from each other. So get ready to take notes if you like, or just sit back and listen. Picture your own garden as we go. Imagine what it could look like in spring if you avoid these mistakes now. That's the reward. Healthy soil, strong plants, fewer problems, and more harvest. All right, let's move into the very first mistake. And trust me, this is the one that ruins more fall gardens than any other. Mistake number 1, stopping water too early. This one surprises many people. The weather cools and they think, great, I don't need to water anymore. The leaves look fresh, the air feels damp, maybe it even rains once or twice. So the hose gets put away in the shed. The watering can collects dust. But here's the truth. Plants still need water in fall. Roots are growing deeper before winter. Soil can be drier than it looks, especially under fallen leaves. A plant that goes into winter thirsty is a plant that may not come back in spring. Let me explain why. When a plant is well hydrated before frost, the water in its cells helps protect it from freezing. Think of it like filling up a water bottle. If the bottle is full, it expands evenly when frozen. If it's half empty, the pressure builds in weak spots and the bottle cracks. Plants work the same way. Now, what happens if you stop watering too soon? The soil dries, roots shrink. Fine feeder roots, which absorb the most nutrients, die back. Then, when spring arrives, the plant has to regrow those roots before it can push out leaves or fruit. That delays growth and weakens the plant. In some cases, the plant never recovers. So what should you do instead? Keep watering until the ground begins to freeze. That means late October in some places and well into November in others. The rule of thumb is this: if the soil is not frozen and your plant is alive, it still needs water. Here's a simple method. Stick your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it feels dry, water. If it feels moist, wait a day. Do this check twice a week. It only takes seconds. If you grow in containers, be extra careful. Pots dry out faster than garden beds. Even in cool weather, wind and sun can pull moisture from the soil. Keep watering your pots until you store them away or until the plants truly die back. Now let's talk about how to water. Always water early in the day. Morning is best. The sun helps dry any water left on leaves, which prevents fungus. Use a slow, deep soak instead of a quick splash. You want the water to reach the roots, not just wet the surface. If you have trees or shrubs, give them a long drink before the first hard frost. Young trees especially need this. Pour the water slowly around the drip line, which is the circle under the outer edge of the branches. That's where most roots sit. A story for you. A friend of mine planted a new apple tree in late summer. It looked great all through September, but she stopped watering in October. The soil was dry, though she didn't realize it. By spring, the tree had dead branches and barely leafed out. We tested the soil, and sure enough, the roots had dried. The fix would have been just 1 more month of watering. So please, don't put away that hose too early. Make watering part of your fall routine. Your future spring garden will thank you.
Mistake number 2, skipping soil care in fall. Many gardeners forget about the soil in fall. They focus on plants, leaves, and frost protection. But here's the secret. Soil is the heart of your garden. If you care for it in fall, it rewards you in spring. If you ignore it, you pay the price. So what do I mean by skipping soil care? It's when you harvest the last tomato, pull a few weeds, and walk away. The soil sits bare. Rain pounds it, wind blows across it, cold hardens it. By spring, the soil is compacted, washed out, and hungry. Let's dig into why this matters. Soil is alive. It holds billions of tiny helpers. Bacteria, fungi, and earthworms all work together to break down organic matter and feed your plants. In fall, these helpers are still active. If you feed them now, they'll prepare rich soil for spring. If you starve them, the soil becomes weak and lifeless. I'll give you an example. Bare soil loses nutrients with every rain. Think of it like leaving sugar outside in a storm. The sweetness dissolves and washes away. The same thing happens with nitrogen and other nutrients in your soil. By spring, your garden is running on empty. So what should you do? Cover the soil. That's the golden rule. Never leave bare ground in fall. You can cover it with mulch, leaves, straw, or a cover crop. Each option works in a different way. Let's start with mulch. Mulch is any layer you place on top of soil to protect it. In fall, organic mulch like shredded leaves, straw, or wood chips is best. Spread it 2 to 3 inches thick over your garden beds. This keeps the soil moist, prevents erosion, and slowly breaks down to feed the soil. Now, leaves. Many people rake their leaves, bag them, and throw them away. That's a huge waste. Leaves are free mulch and compost. Chop them with a mower and spread them on your beds. They act like a blanket for the soil. Over winter, they break down into rich, organic matter. Your soil will be darker and healthier by spring. Straw works well too. Just make sure it's clean straw, not hay. Hay is full of seeds that will sprout into weeds. Spread straw loosely, not packed down, so water can reach the soil below. Another option is a cover crop. This is a plant you grow not to eat, but to protect the soil. Rye, clover, or winter peas are common. You sow them in fall. They grow slowly, holding the soil in place. In spring, you cut them down and turn them under. They add organic matter and nutrients, especially nitrogen. It's like planting a gift for your soil. What happens if you skip this step? Let me tell you a story.
One year, I was tired after summer. I thought, I'll just leave the garden and rest until spring. The beds were bare. Winter rains came, then snow. By March, the soil was crusty and compact. I tried to plant lettuce, but the seeds barely sprouted. The soil had no life. I learned the hard way. Since then, I never leave soil bare. Now, how do you care for soil if you grow in containers? It's a little different. Don't just dump the old soil in the trash. Refresh it. Remove dead roots. Mix in compost. If the soil is tired, replace about 1/3 with new potting mix. Then cover the top with mulch or store the pots in a sheltered spot. Here's a quick, low-cost tip. If you don't have mulch or straw, use cardboard. Lay flat pieces over your soil. Wet them down so they stay put. Cardboard keeps weeds down, protects soil from erosion, and breaks down over time. Worms love it. Another trick is compost. Fall is the best time to spread compost. You don't need to dig it in. Just lay it on top like frosting on a cake. Winter rain and snow will pull the nutrients down into the soil. By spring, your beds are ready to plant. Remember, the goal is to treat soil like a living thing. Feed it, protect it, let it rest under a blanket. In return, it will feed you in the next season. All right, let's pause for a quick recap. So far, we've talked about watering in fall, and now about soil care. If you remember just these 2 lessons, keep watering and never leave soil bare, you're already way ahead of most gardeners. Here's a little check-in question for you. What do you usually do with your leaves in fall? Do you bag them, burn them, or mulch them? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to know. Now get ready, because the next mistake is one that sneaks up on people every single year, and it has to do with planting at the wrong time.
Mistake number 3, planting at the wrong time. Fall is tricky when it comes to timing. The weather shifts fast, and plants don't always keep up with the calendar. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is planting too late, or sometimes too early, for the season. Let's picture this. You walk into a garden center in late September. The racks are full of pretty plants. You see lettuce, kale, pansies, maybe even some herbs like basil. They look healthy. The air is crisp but not cold. You think, perfect, I'll plant these now. But then the first frost comes 2 weeks later. The basil dies. The lettuce turns black. The kale survives, but it struggles because it didn't have enough time to establish roots before the cold. You feel frustrated. You wonder what went wrong. The truth is, it wasn't your care, it was your timing. Fall planting isn't about when the garden store still has stock, it's about how many weeks of growing weather are left before frost. Every plant has a days to maturity number on its seed packet. That's how long it takes from planting to harvest. In fall, you have to count backward from your average first frost date to know when to sow. For example, if lettuce takes 50 days to mature, and your frost usually comes around October 15th, you need to plant it by late August. That gives it time to grow before the cold slows it down. If you wait until late September, it won't make it. Now, here's the good news. Some crops actually love being planted in fall, as long as you time it right. Garlic is one of them. You plant garlic cloves in mid to late fall, before the ground freezes. They rest through winter, then sprout strong in spring. Onions from sets, spinach, and cover crops also thrive with fall planting. But again, timing matters. So, how do you get the timing right? Start with your local frost date. You can find it online by searching your city and average first frost date. Mark it on your calendar. Then look at the seed packet or plant pag. Count backward the number of days to maturity. Add 2 more weeks for safety.
because fall days are shorter and growth slows. That's your planting deadline. Here is a simple example. Say your frost date is October 20th. You want to plant radishes, which take about 30 days to mature. Count back 30 days, then add 2 weeks. That means you should sow radishes by early September. If you plant later, they may not size up in time. A quick story. I once sowed spinach in October, just a week before frost. It sprouted, but the baby leaves froze solid. I thought it was a failure. But in spring, something amazing happened. That spinach popped back up as soon as the snow melted. I had the earliest spinach harvest I had ever seen. The lesson? Sometimes late planting works out, but you need to know which crops can handle it. For flowers, fall planting can also be a trap. Many gardeners put in perennials too late. The plants don't have time to establish roots before the soil freezes, so they die over winter. If you're planting perennials or shrubs, aim for at least 6 weeks before your ground usually freezes. That way the roots settle in. Water deeply after planting and mulch well to protect them. Now, what if you're growing in containers? Timing is even more important. Container soil cools faster than ground soil, so plants stop growing sooner. If you want fall lettuce or herbs in pots, plant a little earlier than you would in the ground, and keep those containers in a sheltered spot when frost approaches. Let's talk about planting too early. Yes, that can be a mistake too. If you plant cool season crops like spinach or kale in late July, they may bolt. That means they shoot up flowers instead of growing leaves because the days are still hot and long. The trick is to wait until the heat eases, but not so long that frost is knocking at the door. Here's a low-cost, do-it-yourself way to extend your planting window. Use row covers or plastic tunnels. These are simple frames covered with fabric or plastic that protect plants from cold nights. You can make one with wire hoops and clear plastic sheeting. Row covers let you plant a little later and still harvest in fall. Another option is succession planting. Instead of planting everything at once, sow small batches every week or two. That way, if one batch gets hit by frost, the others may still thrive. It spreads out your harvest and reduces risk. The bottom line is this: don't trust the calendar alone. Trust your frost date, your soil temperature, and your local weather. Fall gardening is all about planning backward. When you do, your plants have the time they need to grow strong before winter. Let's pause for a recap. Mistake 1 was stopping water too early. Mistake 2 was skipping soil care. And now mistake number 3 is planting at the wrong time. Each one builds on the others. Water keeps plants strong, soil keeps them fed, and timing gives them a fair chance to grow. Now, let me ask you, have you ever planted something in fall and lost it to frost? What was it? Share your story in the comments. Someone else may learn from your experience.
Mistake number 4, leaving the wrong plants in your garden over winter. This one is sneaky. Many gardeners finish their fall harvest, look around, and just leave everything standing. Tomato vines droop, old zucchini plants rot in place, weeds spread seeds like confetti. It feels harmless. After all, winter is coming, right? The cold will kill it all. But here's the truth. Leaving the wrong plants in your garden over winter invites big trouble. Pests, diseases, and weeds don't magically disappear. They hide, they wait, and they multiply. By spring, your garden is already working against you. Let's break it down. Imagine you leave dead tomato vines in your bed. They look harmless, but those vines can carry late blight spores. Blight is a fungus that loves cool, wet weather. It clings to the dead stems and soil, waiting for next season. When you plant new tomatoes, the spores come alive. your fresh plants get sick before they even start. Or think about squash vines. They can harbor squash bugs and vine borer eggs. These pests tuck themselves into old stems and plant debris, safe from frost. Come spring, they hatch and attack your new plants. You wonder why your zucchini fails so early. The truth? Last year's leftovers invited the pests. Now, let's talk about weeds. If you leave weeds standing in fall, they drop seeds. Each plant can release hundreds, even thousands of seeds into your soil. Those seeds sit quietly through winter, then as soon as the soil warms in spring, they sprout like a carpet. You spend the next season fighting weeds instead of growing food. So what should you do instead? Clean up your beds before winter. Pull out diseased plants. Toss them in the trash, not the compost pile, because heat in a home compost pile often isn't enough to kill disease spores. For healthy plants, chop them up and add them to compost. They'll break down and return nutrients to the soil. If you grow in containers, don't just leave dead plants standing. Remove them. Shake off the soil from roots back into the pot. Toss stems and leaves into compost if they're healthy. Then refresh the soil, cover it with mulch, or store the pots indoors. Now, here's something important. Not every plant should be removed. Some plants actually help when left in place. For example, kale and Brussels sprouts can keep producing even in light snow. Spinach and carrots can survive under mulch and give you food in late winter or early spring. Perennials, like chives or oregano, should stay put, but they need a mulch blanket to protect roots. Some plants are also useful for wildlife. Sunflower stalks, for example, provide seeds for birds. Hollow stems of plants like echinacea can give native bees a place to overwinter. If you want to support pollinators, leave a patch of natural growth, but keep it away from your main food beds. That way, you balance garden health with wildlife care. Here's a little trick. In doubt, ask yourself, does this plant show disease, pest damage, or heavy seeding? If yes, clear it out. If not, you can decide whether to compost it, leave it for wildlife, or chop it into mulch. Let me share a story. One year, I left my bean vines tangled on the trellis all winter. I thought they'd just rot away. But in spring, I noticed tiny black dots all over the soil. Bean weevils had overwintered in the vines and multiplied. My first planting of beans that spring was destroyed in weeks. Since then, I never leave legumes standing. I pull them, compost healthy parts, and burn or trash anything suspicious. Another problem with leaving plants standing is soil shading. Dead plants block winter sun from reaching the soil. That keeps the ground cooler and wetter, which slows down soil life. Remember, microbes and worms are still active under the surface. They need air, moisture, and warmth. Clearing out old debris lets them keep working. Now, if you don't like bare soil, cover it. We talked about mulch and cover crops earlier. That's the best way to protect and feed your soil while keeping pests and diseases out. For a low-cost DIY option, you can shred healthy plant material and use it as mulch right in the bed. This is called chop and drop. Just cut the plants into small pieces and spread them on top of the soil. Worms will drag the pieces down and everything will break into rich organic matter. One more tip. Keep an eye on volunteer plants, those surprise seedlings that sprout from last season's dropped seeds. A few can be fun, but too many volunteers crowd out your new crops. Pull extras, thin them, or move them. Don't let them take over. Let's recap quickly. Leaving the wrong plants in your garden over winter causes pests, diseases, and weeds to spread. The fix is simple. Clean up diseased plants, compost healthy ones, mulch, or leave only those that are useful for wildlife or that truly overwinter well. This one step can save you weeks of headaches in spring. So here's my check-in question for you. What do you usually do with your old tomato vines at the end of the season? Do you leave them, compost them, or trash them? Drop your answer in the comments. Your idea may help another gardener. All right, friend, take a breath. You've now learned 4 of the biggest fall mistakes: watering too little, skipping soil care, planting at the wrong time, and leaving the wrong plants standing. You're already ahead of the game. But there's one more mistake, and this one is about
protection. It's the mistake that makes gardeners lose whole beds overnight.
Mistake 5. Ignoring frost protection. This is the mistake that breaks the hearts of gardeners every single fall. You spend months tending your plants. They look strong. They're still producing. Then one chilly night comes and frost wipes them out in hours. It's like nature pulled a trick on you while you slept. Frost doesn't always give warning. Sometimes the forecast says low of 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and you relax. But in your backyard, the temperature dips lower than the official report. That thin layer of ice forms on leaves. By morning, your tomatoes, peppers, and basil look black and limp. One night, one mistake, and the season is gone. So why does frost hit so hard? Plants are mostly water. When the temperature drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, that water turns to ice crystals. Inside the plant cells, those crystals expand and puncture cell walls. It's like tiny glass shards ripping the plant from the inside. That's why leaves look burned after frost. They're actually broken. Here's the key. Not all plants are equal. Warm season crops like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, beans, and basil die at the very first frost. Cool season crops like kale, spinach, carrots, and broccoli can take a light frost, sometimes even a hard freeze. In fact, frost makes some of them sweeter. Carrots, for example, turn starch into sugar when touched by cold. But you need to know which plants can handle it and which cannot. So how do you protect your garden? The good news is, frost protection doesn't require fancy gear. It's about covering and trapping heat. The easiest method is to cover your plants overnight. Use old sheets, blankets, or even towels. Drape them gently over your plants before sunset, when the warmth of the day is still in the soil. Anchor the edges with rocks or boards so the wind doesn't blow them off. Remove the covers in the morning once the sun is up. That way, your plants keep growing. Here's a tip. Never use plastic directly on plants. Plastic transfers cold and can freeze leaves where it touches them. If you use plastic, support it with stakes or hoops so it forms a tent. The plastic holds in heat, but doesn't touch the foliage. On screen, no plastic on leaves. Another option is row covers. These are lightweight fabric sheets made for gardens. They let in air, light, and water, but protect from frost. You can buy them or make your own with fabric from the hardware store. Row covers are reusable, and they give you several degrees of protection. For small plants, even buckets, crates, or cardboard boxes work. Just flip them over the plants in the evening, then remove them in the morning. Quick, simple, and free. If you grow in containers, it's even easier. Just move your pots closer to the house, under a porch, or into a garage for the night. Walls and concrete hold heat and keep plants safe. Even shifting a pot 3 feet closer to the house can make the difference. Now let's talk about one more trick: water. Wet soil holds heat better than dry soil. If you water your garden during the day before a frost night, the soil absorbs warmth from the sun. That heat slowly rises at night, protecting roots and even the air just above the soil. It won't save a tender tomato from a deep freeze, but it can push the edge on a light frost. You can also use mulch for frost protection. A thick blanket of straw, leaves, or wood chips around the base of plants keeps soil warmer. This is especially good for root crops like carrots, beets, and parsnips. You can leave them in the ground under mulch and harvest all winter long. A quick story. One fall, I grew peppers late into October. I knew frost was coming, but I thought it would be light. I covered some plants with sheets and left others uncovered as a test. In the morning, the uncovered plants were black mush. The covered plants looked fresh and green. That simple step of tossing a sheet made the difference between harvest and heartbreak. If you want to go further, you can build low tunnels.
These are like mini greenhouses made with hoops and plastic or fabric. They trap daytime heat and keep plants protected for weeks longer. They're cheap to make and easy to set up. With tunnels, you can harvest lettuce in December in many places. Now, what happens if you ignore frost protection? You lose your tender crops overnight. You lose weeks of potential harvest. And you may even lose perennials that weren't mulched or watered before frost. It's the fastest way to undo months of effort. So please, don't let frost steal your garden. Check your local frost forecasts. Keep a few sheets, blankets, or row covers ready. Cover your plants when the first frost warnings appear. Protect your soil with mulch, and harvest what you can before a hard freeze. Let's do a quick recap of all 5 mistakes. Mistake 1 was stopping water too early. Mistake 2 was skipping soil care. Mistake 3 was planting at the wrong time. Mistake 4 was leaving the wrong plants standing. And mistake 5, ignoring frost protection. Avoid these 5 and your fall garden will thrive. You'll save time, you'll save money. You'll walk into spring with richer soil and stronger plants. Remember, mistakes happen. I've made them all. What matters is learning and adjusting. Fall gardening isn't perfection. It's small steps that add up to success. Here's my check-in question for you. Do you cover plants when frost is coming or let the season end? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might give another gardener courage to protect one more harvest. If this video helped you, please like it. It tells YouTube this was useful for gardeners like you. And hit subscribe for simple, practical tips all season long. Know someone who loses their garden every fall? Share this video with them. One tip might save their harvest. Before you go, don't stop here. Watch the 15 genius gardening hacks you'll wish you knew sooner. It's right on your screen now. Tap it, and I'll meet you there.